Energy security has been a hot button issue with climate change, global warming, all the rest of it. The question that has been asked is, what will be your priorities in the years ahead in terms of energy management for the country?
Let me start by saying, my job is peculiar, and my team is, we call ourselves Pemandu. In Bahasa Malaysia, means driver, driving the transformation. We have a program called the Economic Transformation Program to push Malaysia from being a middle-income nation to become a high-income nation by 2020. We got two things to do, making sure that the programs to focus to exist in the 12 areas chosen. There are 12 sectors that we said we would focus on, not all the 30 sectors. The biggest of the lot is oil, gas, and energy. So you can see it's a very big part of that component of the jigsaw. The second priority for me in my role in the government is to drive home the 51 strategic policy measures, the reforms that are to create the conditions for competitiveness to exist. So focus is key, competitiveness is very, very important. So without competitiveness, I don't think a country will ever make it to the high income status. So we have to make a lot of changes internally, and by way of January next year, our competition law will kick in. We will enforce it. And because that is one of the basic building blocks to cause competitiveness, the conditions to exist in our country. So if I return back to the area of where we're going to focus on energy, my immediate priority is to make sure that we encourage many of the players in oil and gas in Malaysia to do enhanced oil recovery, to do all that's needed to get as much oil and gas out from the ground. We have some aging fields inside there. We've given all the right incentives to cause this to happen. Some of the marginal fields are being worked on very thoroughly by Petronas and Shell and Exxon and others, the players there. And while we're focusing on ensuring that we make the most of what we have in terms of marginal fields and also existing brown fields, we also need to make sure that we think in the future about renewables. And so that's why the issues around the feed-in tariff need to kick in. But for that to happen, we'll have to make sure that the pricing structure is brought back to market. Because if you don't do that, and then it's going to be very, very costly for this to happen. And at the same time, you have to ensure that when the feed-in tariff there, that the degradation steps are there, so that it will not cause another form of distortion. And so therefore that has to be taken in. So for us, when we think about this, changing the market structure and liberalizing that over a period of time is key priority for us, and making sure that the prices are brought to market, making sure that our import terminal is open and ready, and the pricing structure is correct, ensuring that more oil and gas activities are taking place so that we will find more oil and gas out from the ground. I mean, it's hands full, hands on deck, really, when we think about it. But to my mind, there is no question about the need for us in Malaysia and ASEAN to really put the energy agenda on the pedestal. If you ask me today if I can call the shot, I would like to see a day when we will get all the countries, put the best and the brightest people in government, private sector, and lock them in a room altogether for 8 weeks. We call them labs. Put inside the room for 8 weeks, throw away the key and tell them Hotel California. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave until you sort out the problems with regards to this policy. And so if we were to do something like that, let me say this, and if you put some of the best and brightest from Singapore, from Philippines, from Malaysia, from Indonesia, everyone, from Brunei, and all of that together, private sector included and government people, and we said to them in 8 weeks, give us the blueprint going forward in market access, in connectivity, and et cetera, and we get the leadership of all the prime ministers to cause this to happen. I can tell you, we're on, if you like, on the shore to create a beachhead project here. But until and unless you ground it down like that, we probably see it next year and have the same subject, and we talk about the same thing.
From our point of view, our primary mission is to ensure that energy does not become a binding constraint on Singapore's aim to grow, to develop, and to be environmentally sustainable. So we operate within that broad thrust. And once you look at it in that manner, it's quite clear that on the demand side, we need to ensure responsible consumption. So your energy pricing policy, energy efficiency efforts, and education, which is fundamental, not just for children, because in some ways children are the quickest adapters and adopters, but also at the larger adult population, into understanding the significance, not just in terms of your wallet, but in terms of broader ramifications of your consumption decisions. On the supply side, our efforts are really aimed at diversification to ensure that Singapore continues to have access to a steady, reliable, and affordably or competitively priced energy to meet our needs. So that's really the framework within which we operate, and that's our focus.